Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the live stream Sunday, February 25th for studentloanjustice.org, but really Collinge for President.com. My name is Alan Collinge. I am running for president. If you have student loans, you need to tell everyone you know about student loans that there's a guy, Alan Collinge, running for president. And the number one tippy top point of order on my watch will be canceling all federally owned student loans, returning bankruptcy protections to all student loans, ending the federal loan program, replacing it with something that is not poisonous, unconstitutional, and viciously predatory, and that doesn't make the colleges obscenely rich. And I will claw back money from the colleges where appropriate. So tonight we've got a very important topic to discuss, which is internet, privacy, data gathering, surveillance, censorship. It's a very long conversation. I'm probably not going to do it justice in the half an hour or so that I plan to spend, but let me give you just a brief weekend wrap up. What's going on with the campaign? On President's Day, we did a really nice debate with three other independent, non-affiliated presidential candidates. You can see it on our website, collinsforpresident.com. I think we represented quite well. As hopefully you know, I've rolled out 4 agenda items so far. Canceling student loans, obviously, it's got to happen. It will happen. And whether I win the presidency or not, that will happen. The only question is whether it happens sooner rather than later. That's number 1. Number 2, taxing the wealthy. We've got to tax the wealthy pretty much like we did after World War II. Cutting spending. And also, I had some interesting things to say about China and balancing our financial economic relationship with China. So we've got a long ways to go, ladies and gentlemen. But check out that debate. Let me know what you think. I spoke to some other topics as well, which I won't go over now. But so here's what's going on in the student loan universe, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Biden, as predicted, continues to roll out these tiny student loan cancellation gimmicks as a way of, it's performative. He's trying to buy our votes. So this week he did a $1.2 billion loan cancellation. They're like, yeah, it went viral all over the internet for 45,000 people or however many people it was, 150,000 people, whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, $1 billion in interest is added to the national student loan portfolio every 3 days. That's right. $300 million a day does the Department of Education make in interest. So Joe Biden can do these $1 billion loan cancellations until the cows come home. And the student loan portfolio is still going to grow. Take a step back, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the big picture here. Nothing has changed. Bankruptcy rates remain gone from student loans. That's the key to everything. They remain weaponized. Statutes of limitations remain gone. The loans have turned back on, and now $100 billion a year, $300 million a day in interest is tacking off on our backs. I know a lot of people out there, particularly on our group, they're like, oh, what should I do? What should I do? If I had any good advice for you, I would take it myself, and we would not be here fighting for student loan justice. There are a lot of people, I know they're well-meaning on our group, and they're giving people advice. They're like, oh, you should try for the SAVE program, or you should try for the Fresh Start program. Ladies and gentlemen, stop. Just stop it. The lending system is catastrophically failed. As we're speaking today, 80% of all student loan borrowers are not making payments on their loans. 80%. That's like something like 7 or 8 million people out of the 43.4 million people with loans. The New York Times is reporting that 60% are paying. That's completely false, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. That's unreported stuff. And if you read between the lines in the articles that are going viral by the propaganda media, you will see that indeed I am right. And in fact, the Department of Education is counting millions of people who are making $0 payments. So at the end of the day, yeah, not even 8 million people out of the 43.4 million people are paying. So 80% are not paying. The lending system is failed. It's in catastrophic failure, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody knows. I don't know. You definitely don't know. The people at the Department of Education do not know what the future holds for this failed loan scam. Nobody knows. And take it from me, guys, having studied this for 20 years, I can tell you that what seems like a good advice today for student loans almost always turns out to be horrible advice tomorrow. Like 5 years ago, yeah, it was a pretty smart thing to refinance your student loans into the private sector. Well, that's not looking so smart anymore, is it? No, it's not. And talk to anybody over the age of 50 who still has these loans, and they will have all sorts of horror stories for you about how they got duped into consolidating their loans, into rehabilitating their loans, into signing on to one new repayment plan or another. Guys, don't buy it. The Department of Education has never had and does not now have any real desire or intentions of actually canceling many loans. They want to cancel the bare minimum amount of loans to prevent, torches and pitchforks from showing up at their offices in Washington, D.C. They want to cancel the minimum amount of loans. It's always been true. And, when the spotlight goes off, it will be business as usual. All the games will begin again. The predatory underpinnings of this loan scam remain completely unchanged. And the collection industry is licking their lips. So the best advice I have for anybody out there is to help us fight. Number one, to get bankruptcy rights back. And when that happens, it will be a very direct path between that and seeing actual, real, meaningful, widespread, maybe even total student loan cancellation, because no president wants to be the president who presides over the largest wave of bankruptcy filings in U.S. history. So anyways, guys, please don't give advice to other people on our group. And I know you're probably well-meaning, but just don't do it. It's probably bad advice. Time will bear that out. And don't believe all the nonsense from, it's the D's and the R's have abandoned us, guys. I have no burning desire to be president necessarily. I feel like I was completely forced into running because both parties have betrayed us. I guarantee you there is a 0.0% chance that either Trump or Biden will do anything meaningful on student loans, barring some black swan event like my candidacy for president. So I guess the best advice I have is, first of all, do everything you can to tell everyone you know about student loans, about my candidacy for president. I kid you not, guys. I know that sounds really self-serving, but it's true. We've got to change the game, guys. And right now, the D's and the R's, the Uniparty, the Department of Education, the swamp, whatever you want to call it, they have got us right where they want us. Now, 80% are not paying. That's true. But the media, I don't think, is going to report that. They are trying to keep this sucker under the rug. And at this point, it's like an elephant under the rug. I don't know how they're going to do it. But, word of mouth is the most important thing that we have. Simply spreading the truth about this lending scam has got to happen. So please, if you forget everything I say tonight, remember at least that. And tell everyone you know with student loans about this campaign, please. That's the only thing. Word of mouth is all we've got. But really, it's all we need when you get off your ass, quit expecting some guy on the internet to solve this problem for you, and quit reading Forbes fucking magazine, pardon my French. Those people are disgusting. All of the mainstream media right now is the most disgusting I've ever seen it. It's almost pure propaganda. So okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got I told you my other issues that I've rolled out. We have got to talk about internet privacy, surveillance, censorship, data gathering. And I would say AI as well, but that's really going to be a different topic. Tonight, I want to talk about those things that I just said. And I want to tell you a brief story. Number one, the top line, I will pardon Julian Assange. I will, if they compel press charges, I will pardon whatever the result of that is. And if I can stop any trial from happening, I would do that as president. Don't know that the president has the power to do that, but I would do it. I would pardon Julian Assange. I would fight with every ounce of presidential power that I have to get Ed Snowden a jury trial, which is what he wants. And I will be standing at the ready for a pardon if he's convicted and given an outrageously horrible sentence. So that kind of tells you where I'm coming from. I'm not going to get into too much detail here because this is a very complicated topic. But I will simply say, ladies and gentlemen, that I have lived and breathed on the internet over really since student loan justice began and before. I think I was probably among the first people to send an email back in like 1992. And I grew up on a Unix computer. So I've seen the internet go from, nothing. Like I think Mosaic was the first browser that I used. I've seen it go from almost nothing to where it is today. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it puts much fear into me to see what technology is being used to do to us. Let me tell you a story. When Ed Snowden broke all that stuff that happened in, was it 2013? Did you know, you don't know this, many people don't know this, that in the wake of the Snowden revelations, the legislature for the state of Maryland, a Republican legislature, they almost immediately drew up a bill that would have cut the power, literally cut the utilities to the NSA, who happened to be located in Fort Meade, Maryland. Like, do you not remember how up in arms everybody was when we found out that the government was reading our emails without a warrant? The government was surveilling us both in real time, audio, video, by our phones, by all these matters in real time, that they were spying on church groups, that their leaders like Clapper had lied to the Senate under oath, James Clapper, about the extent of the surveillance that the federal government was doing on us. Like, so the legislature for the state of Maryland introduced this legislation. Republicans, believe it or not, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you're very welcome in my world. I am neither. I can't stand either. But this happened to be a Republican bill. And very quietly, over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, the 7 co-sponsors on this bill quietly withdrew their names, and that whole effort petered into nothing. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Think about the power that the deep state has to make that happen. I don't think that was the only piece of legislation out there. I think probably some other state legislatures probably did introduce some very radical bills to deal with the level of surveillance and the obvious, massive, blatant, widespread breach of our Article 4 constitutional rights were happening. But ladies and gentlemen, today, I'm not confident that all of those same authorities, well, maybe the authorities statutorily don't exist so much anymore, but I'm still very concerned. I'm concerned not only because of what the government can do. They're storing all of our text voice messages in some facility in Utah, for example. But ladies and gentlemen, this is not just about the government spying on us. This is about private industry. This is about what our phone internet utilities, our internet host providers, our telephone companies, you name it. All these private actors are doing the same thing. They can do the same thing. And in many ways, they have potentially even more power than the government. There are third-party people who have, they make huge amounts of money scraping our data from the internet. And it's a very long story. I am not going to do this topic justice tonight, ladies and gentlemen, but I will just want to give you the broad, heartfelt top line of what my campaign will entail. We have got to get our Fourth Amendment right back. The right to that our letters, papers, and effects must not be accessible, not by the government, and quite frankly, not by any other third private party without a court order or a warrant. And I don't mean a little national security letter that gives them the keys to the castle on our cell phones, on our computers, on our internet browsing history, on our emails. No. If you want to look into my personal effects, you need to get a warrant or a court order. And if you're a private party and you get that information, you seek out and get that information and you do anything with it, that should be a criminal violation, certainly in the United States. And I'm not a globalist, but I would certainly be okay with international bodies of law that makes such things a crime across the world. That's a larger topic I won't get into. Like I said, guys, I'm not going to do this topic good justice tonight, but it is extremely important. I think if I had to sum it up in like one sentence, I'd say we need to stamp out creepiness on the internet. Nobody should have access to my internet browsing history or yours, to keyword searches that you do. Certainly Google will have that information, but it should be illegal for them to do anything with that information. And guys, and it gets a little tricky here, but I am almost inclined to say that nobody in their right mind should be able to opt in to that sort of a thing, because that is such a Pandora's box. And I think most people, and I haven't written anything down yet in my policy paper, and I'm still thinking this through. And by the way, I should say, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. If I can see them on Facebook and or Twitter, I'm very happy to read them aloud. Even more than that, if you happen to be an expert in this field about which I admittedly know very little, I would like to talk to you. I read, people like, I don't know, Matt Taibbi does a pretty good job. Well, certainly on the censorship area, which I'll get to in a minute. Glenn Greenwald, Ed Snowden writes some good stuff. There's some good people out there. And if you happen to be amongst those experts, maybe you don't have to be famous. But if you really know what you're talking about, and if it is painful and awkward for you to listen to me to fumble my way through this segment tonight, please let me know. I would like to know what you know. There's many people who have thought about these things very much more deeply than I have, and I'm open to any and all of your thoughts there. But and again, I don't want to talk about AI tonight, but just think about it, guys. They are making very complicated, very accurate psychological profiles of us out there. Maybe China's doing it. Maybe, I'm sure China's doing it. Maybe Russia. Who knows? Our own country certainly, and you can know a lot about a person from nothing more than his internet search and web surfing history. And that is creepy. I know that's kind of a business model for Facebook. We need to break that business model ladies and gentlemen, nobody on this planet has any good business creeping into our private lives, building psychological profiles of us so that they can at some point manipulate us. That's the way you lose in democracy. I mean, we're talking about some very Orwellian things here, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about mind control on a national, if not global scale. We're talking about some very powerful forces unleashed in this country, in the hands of a very few human beings who are inherently flawed. And, you know, if you get to the position where you're running a large IT firm that dabbles in this stuff, you're probably an asshole and you're probably a creepy, sneaky guy, and you don't get my shit. So, and I'm speaking maybe from a little bit of personal experience, I should tell you, when we really started making waves, including Occupy Wall Street. I can tell I'm not going to scintillate the conversation with any details, but I will just say that we were surveilled very intensely. And it is very disturbing, the level of manipulation and control that a stranger can take over you by knowing certain facts about you. Like, maybe not even criminal facts, just like, it's creepy. It's very creepy, guys. It has no place in a human world, and I hope that you agree. We also have to talk about censorship as well. And again, quite frankly, I think student loan justice is probably one of the patient zeros for one of the early guinea pigs for censorship on social media. It happens all the time. And again, I could go on quite a while telling you about all of our members who have gotten shadow banned, outright banned for retweeting our stuff, the way that we're practically invisible on Facebook. That is a threat to democracy. And maybe you're a strong blue no matter who Democrat and you love the fact that, you know, Matt Drudge or some conservatives is getting censored and they got canceled and this and that. Well, I am here to tell you that don't think that way. Your party's in power now and the thing seems to be going against one way. That can and will change if we let it. Censorship is terrible. And, you know, speaking of creepy, one of the most creepy things is some of these bills that we see come through that have the most noble sounding titles, like, you know, Protecting Our Children Act and stuff like that. I'm all for protecting children, ladies and gentlemen. What I am not for is for these hybrid NGO taking marching orders from the FBI, the CIA, or some other government agency, pulling the lever of power with Twitter, Facebook, other social media platforms to get people canceled off of the internet. It's disgusting, ladies and gentlemen. And believe me, we as a group, we've never advocated like violence or terrorism or nothing of the sort. And we never would. We shouldn't have to. The law is on our side. The Constitution is on our side. We shouldn't have to. And we do not break the law. We don't threaten. We don't insurrect. We don't do any of those things. We never have, never will. And yet we have been the victim of very intense shadow banning, censorship, you name it. So I don't have an agenda for you on censorship per se. I think it's, you know, this thing is unfolding as we speak. But I certainly think that, well, let me just, I make a promise to you. I will have something solid for you in the censorship arena that I will put pen to paper to, certainly by the election, certainly well before the election. And so if you have any good ideas, let me know. You know, I've only scratched the tip of the iceberg here tonight. But there are as I said, some very smart people out there. I would like to talk to you, and maybe you can help me formalize and put into ink my presidential platform on this topic. But I hope in general you agree with me. I was thinking about it. And whether you hate my tax plan, which most very wealthy people will hate, 99% of the people will like, even the wealthiest 1% should really, really, really like my long overdue, not radical, but very strong agenda for protecting our privacy, stopping surveillance, data gathering, putting a very strong kibosh on all manner of data gathering. I talked about just a couple of things: our internet search history, our browsing history, our emails, but way more than that, guys. There are so many things that we can be tracked on, and we don't know it. And it's a Pandora's box, and it gives the levers of very large, very potentially nation-wrecking, democracy-wrecking, election manipulating powers to people who should not have those powers. Everybody should agree with this. Brad Pitt doesn't like to get spied on, right? I'm sure rich, famous people get spied on far more than others. And so, yeah, everybody who's a human being, who isn't an investor in Google or Facebook or Twitter or one of the others, LinkedIn, one of the other social media companies, or unless you're Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, everybody should be fully on board with my platform in this area. So I hope what I said is clear. I don't know that I'm going to be able to see your comments tonight, guys. Happens quite often, and I do apologize. But believe you me, we're in this to win this, guys. I don't want to talk too much about presidential politics, but there are 40 million people in the country right now, most of whom, like 38 million, are not making payments on their student loans. 40 million people will never be able to repay their student loans. They need to know about this presidential campaign. Nothing happens unless you make it happen. If you're expecting for us to be interviewed again on 60 Minutes about this campaign, well, that could happen, but it's absolutely not going to happen until you and me sitting here, I'm not kidding you, make it our mission, your mission, to tell everyone with student loans, first and foremost, about this campaign, and do whatever else that you can think of. That's the only way this is going to work, guys. So I'm actually stoked. I'm feeling better than ever. I love the fact that we're not with one of the major parties. We don't have to battle our way through any primaries. We don't really have to even raise that much money. This is just, this is not necessary for a winning campaign for us. It's not. All we need are people. All we need is you. So I will hope that you will take that into account. I hope that you were able to make some sort of sense out of what I said tonight about internet surveillance, censorship, data gathering, and privacy. I think I'm on the right track. I hope that you'll tell a friend about this campaign. I hope that you will donate to the campaign, actually. We don't need to raise a lot of money, but we can't do it on nothing either. So far we've raised, I want to say, around a little over $1,000 last I checked. It would really be good to raise $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, guys. We can certainly deploy that in a very effective way. I hope that you'll stick with this campaign. And remember, this all starts with you. You could be the hero here. I'm just the vessel. And so I hope that you'll take that to heart. I'll see you next Sunday. Certainly, I may do something before then, depending on how things go. But hang in there and keep fighting. And remember, don't give in to the student loan mafia. Help us fight, and we will win. So good luck. Have a great week. Godspeed. Go to studentloanjustice.org. Do the daily actions if you need something to do. Go to the website, collingeforpresident.com, and help us out, hook us up, and get going. God bless everyone, and God bless America.